everyone and welcome to this video where we are going to be taking a look at a few exam tips for your applied skill level papers. So we're starting with a few things to remember regarding remotely proctored exams. Since most of you are going to be writing a remotely proctored exam, I felt that would be a good area to start with. First thing that you need to remember is that scientific calculators are allowed as part of your exam. So make sure you have one with you on your desk which you use on a regular basis so that you have a level of comfortability with it, which will not be present if you're using the exam software provided calculator. Secondly, you have to be aware that scratch papers are not allowed for your exams. So you will not be allowed to carry in any rough papers to do the calculations for your section A or section B questions, which you usually do. So to deal with this, they will be providing a scratch pad, which is once again part of your exam software. So to get comfortable with this, I would suggest making use of the notepad function available on most of your computers. Whenever you're practicing section A and section B questions, rather than doing the questions by hand, make sure you're typing in the required information onto a notepad so that you're comfortable with this. Thirdly, system checks, software checks need to be done before the exam. So off the top of my head, I can remember that you need to enable pop-ups, disable your firewall, and disable any antivirus softwares that have been put in, right? So since all these steps have to be taken, please be aware of the steps that you have to take for your laptop or your computer. And also ensure that you try to do a system check the day before so that you're absolutely prepared on the day of the exam. Next, you need to have a level of comfortability with the exam software with the use of the spreadsheet and the word processor. And a good way to do this is by accessing the ACCA practice platform and trying out to do a few questions over there. And finally, remember that the check-in process before the exam is going to take some amount of time. It will vary from person to person, so please be patient and don't worry. I felt the next area that we should probably look at is the way in which the different exams are structured. So your performance management, taxation, financial reporting, and financial management papers all have 3 sections each. Section A has 15 objective type questions. Section B has 3 scenarios. Each of those scenarios will have 5 objective type questions related to them. And finally, section C has 2 constructed response questions as part of them. Now, under section C, you will be expected to use the spreadsheet and the word processor function so as to answer the requirements. You will not have to make a choice regarding which of those you have to use. For each requirement, the appropriate spreadsheet or word processing software would be provided over there. You just have to type in or key in your answers. For these papers, you have about 60% weightage for your objective type questions. When you compare this to your audit and assurance paper, you see that you only have 2 sections over here. And only section A is where you come across objective type questions, where you have once again 3 scenarios, and each scenario will have 5 objective type questions associated with it, having a total weightage of 30%. While section B here will have 3 constructed response questions, 2 20-mark questions, and 1 30-mark question, carrying a total weightage of 70%. I felt the next area that we should probably look at is the different types of objective type questions that you can come across. So the most commonly asked type of objective question is an MCQ, a multiple choice question, where you will have 1 right answer, and if you pick that right answer, you will get your marks. Next, you have a multiple response question where you'll have 2 or more correct answers, and only if you pick all the right answers will you get your marks. Next, you have a fill in the blank question where you will be given a space to key in or type in your answer. Next, you have a drop down menu where you will have to select the right answer from a drop down menu. You have a drag and drop question where you'll be expected to drag the right answer from the given options and drop it into the correct area. And finally, you have a type of question that's not very frequently used called a hotspot question, which is basically they will give you an image and you will have to select the right area over there. For example, you might be given a graph and asked to identify an exact point on it. So you'll have to mark that point using an X. So these are the different types of questions that you can come across, and MCQs are the most common type of question. Next, we're going to take a look at a few general tips that you can use for your exams, right? So first thing that you need to remember is time management. Time management is absolutely key for your exam. You have 180 minutes to answer a 100-mark paper. So that's about 1.8 minutes per mark. So what I like to advise my students is to try and stick to a time limit of 1.5 minutes per mark. So for section A and section B questions, I understand certain section A and section B objective type questions might not be completed in 3 minutes. So what you can do is you can try to bunch together 5 to 10 objective type questions at a time and set a time limit for them and try to get them completed in that time. Section C, your constructed response question. Once again, look at the marks and associate a certain amount of time to it under the time limit of 1.5 minutes per mark, right? And then try to complete it in that given time frame. So when you're practicing questions before your exam, make sure you try to stick to this routine. So the advantage of using this method is even if you run a little bit over your time limit, towards the end of your exam, you will probably get done with your full exam in about 2 hours and 30 minutes to 2 hours and 45 minutes, which still would give you about 15 minutes, 20 minutes to go back and check your answers and fill in any areas that you feel you could have answered better. The next thing that you need to keep in mind is that you should not be question spotting, right? Question spotting is basically just going in and identifying a few key areas in each subject and only studying those areas. This will not work for your applied skill level papers since you have a large dependence on objective type questions which can come up from any area in your syllabus. Now, another thing that many students tend to do is they come up to me and say, sir, I'm extremely comfortable doing an objective type question, or I'm extremely comfortable with constructive response question, but I'm not comfortable with the other section. So this is again another area that you should probably try and deal with. It's better to be average in both the sections rather than doing extremely well in one section with regards to your, let's say, your objective type question and performing very poorly in your constructive response question. You will have a better chance of passing if you're doing average in both the areas. So that is what you should work towards. Ensure you have proficiency in both the areas. Next, like we discussed previously, you must have an idea regarding the exam. Next, like we discussed previously, you must have a familiarity with the exam system and software that you will be using. So make use of the ACCA practice platform for that. And finally, make sure that you link your calculations together. So for your section C questions or your constructed response questions, where you will be dealing with answering using spreadsheets, ensure that if you're finding a certain value, and let's say you're using that value further in your calculation moving forward, make sure instead of typing that value in, whatever value found out, you make sure to use the value in the cell so that if you make any changes to the calculation, the rest of the calculation automatically gets updated and you don't have to sit and figure everything out once again. Next, I'm going to leave you with one tip for each of these applied skill level papers. Starting with financial management, there are different formulas and formats to be used for your objective type questions and your constructed response questions. So be extremely careful about them and make sure that you're comfortable doing the calculations in both the methods, be it by hand, which you'll be using for the objective type questions, or using the spreadsheet function for your constructed response questions. You must be comfortable with both. For your audit and assurance paper, it's extremely important that you pay close attention to the format and structure of your answers. There's a certain format and structure that you need to follow for all your constructed response questions especially. And if you're not completely aware of this or miss out on one part of that format or that structure, you might end up losing a significant amount of marks. For example, let's say they had asked you for the audit risk. Now, when you mention the audit risk, you'll have to mention the audit risk as well as a possible solution. Let's say you only mention the audit risk and leave out the solution bit of it. You are going to end up losing half of the marks for each point that you mention, right? So most questions will be, let's say, for 6 to 8 marks where you have to mention about 3 to 4 points. So you'll end up scoring only 50% of the marks where you could have easily scored the full marks. So be absolutely clear what is the format that you have to follow for a certain type of question and the structure to follow. Moving on to your financial reporting paper, here it is important that you maintain a structure and order to all questions that you attempt with regards to your constructed response questions, right? Make use of ample working notes and ensure that you reference these working notes in your calculations. Once again, if you're using the spreadsheet function, ensure that you're linking the cells to each other so that you don't have to go back and keep adjusting the answers each time you adjust your calculations. Moving on to your taxation paper. Taxation is a subject that is very content heavy. So it's extremely important to find some sort of similarities, connections, and patterns between the content that is provided between the different taxes that you have, so that it's easier for you to remember them and apply them as well. So as long as you're able to remember the different taxes that are to be applied in a certain situation and the rules to be followed, you will be easily able to pass this paper. And finally, for performance management, the only advice that I have to give you is practice, practice, and practice more. Performance management is a paper that does not have a lot of complex areas when you look at the syllabus, right? But when you get to the exam, it's extremely tough to pass the exam. The reason is there's a certain way you need to approach and try to solve a performance management question. And the only way you can understand this is by practicing as many questions as possible, right? Unlike your other papers where you might have a formula and the information in the question might give you the various values that have to be put into the formula and you can get to your answer. Under performance management, such questions will be rare. It will be more along the lines of, you know what formula needs to be used, you know what needs to be found out, but you're not aware of what are the values that you need to be putting into the formulas. Now, to get to those values, you might have to do 3 other calculations to get to those values. So it's extremely important that you practice questions of this sort so that you're comfortable with them, and this will easily help you pass the exam. I hope the tips that I've provided help you prepare better for your exam. All the best for your coming exams. I hope all of you do extremely well. Thank you.